Good evening, I'm Diana Swain, and this is The National. Canada distances itself from the U.S. on the world stage.
Our own clear and sovereign course.
But what does that mean, and how does it affect our relationship with Donald Trump's America? Susan Orbiston talks to Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland. Barack Obama also weighs in on the changing world order on his first visit to Montreal.
Bon anniversaire.
Plus, Air Canada canceled her ticket without telling her, and she's not the only one. For a foreign affairs speech about Canadian global policy, it sure focused a lot on the U.S., pointedly using our closest neighbor as the example of what not to do on the world stage. Minister Chrystia Freeland, perhaps emboldened by some of Canada's greatest allies overseas, suggested that if the United States no longer wants to be burdened by world leadership, this country will step up. Ideas dismissed by the opposition as short on specifics. David Cochrane has the details from Ottawa.
In her speech to Parliament, the Foreign Affairs Minister didn't say it directly. But the subtext of Chrystia Freeland's words is that America under Trump has it wrong, so countries like Canada have to get it right.
The fact that our friend and ally has come to question the very worth of its mantle of global leadership puts into sharper focus the need for the rest of us to set our own clear and sovereign course.
The United States will withdraw.
With America pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, pushing around its NATO allies, and picking Twitter spats over terrorism, it's clear to Freeland the global order is changing.
The United States has truly been the indispensable nation.
From indispensable to unreliable, Canada joins a chorus of nations such as Germany and France who have said they can no longer count on the U.S. to tackle the big global issues. From climate change to trade to Russia to ISIS. Freeland says like-minded countries need to band together to fill the void created by America's retreat.
Turning aside from our responsibilities is not an option. Instead, we must think carefully and deeply about what is happening and find a way forward.
There was a lot of frothy liberalism in this speech.
The Conservatives dismissed it as a PR exercise.
A speech that was so empty of detail and reality.
Details no, but signals yes. Tomorrow, the government will outline the resources to go with this rhetoric, a 20-year defense spending plan to ensure military independence.
To rely solely on the U.S. security umbrella would make us a client state.
While this speech can be seen as a rejection of Trumpism, a senior Canadian official says it's really no different than what they say directly to the Americans. But just to make sure it didn't cause too much trouble, Chrystia Freeland says she called Secretary of State Rex Tillerson yesterday to give him a heads up on what she was going to say. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
Tonight, Justin Trudeau had dinner plans with former U.S. President Barack Obama. Obama was in Canada today addressing Montreal's Chamber of Commerce. The message was also about America's role in the world, and it wasn't just pointed at who was in the room. Alison Northcott has more.
The most influential voice of progress in the world, the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Barack Obama didn't mention Donald Trump by name, but his speech tonight was like a counterpoint to the current administration's actions and outlook. Obama warned about the strains of a rapidly changing world in the face of technology and globalization.
And in some cases, that leads people to search for certainty and control, and they can call for isolationism or nationalism, or they can suggest rolling back the rights of others, or simply they can try to retreat and suggest that we have no obligations beyond our borders or beyond our communities.
Obama also talked climate change and the Paris Climate Accord he was instrumental in getting done.
In Paris, we came together around the most ambitious agreement in history to fight climate change. An agreement that, even with the temporary absence of American leadership, will still give our children a fighting chance.
For Obama, that fighting chance also depends on the long-standing international cooperation that Trump has at times cast doubt on.
We're also bound by the institutions that we built to keep the peace. A United Nations to advance our collective aspirations. A NATO alliance to ensure our security. A vast web of commerce that carries goods from one end of this continent to the other.
It was Obama's first visit to Canada since he left the Oval Office just 5 months ago, and many of the thousands of people who attended say it was a moment they didn't want to miss.
He's a wonderful speaker, so I just want to be here and live this moment.
Especially in the climate that they have in the United States now, having someone who's this inspiring and this sort of like pro-change, pro-hope, and just so inspirational.
Obama says his future is in active citizenship and work on his foundation, but it will likely also include more speaking engagements like this that some paid more than $300 to attend. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
If you're one of the 37 million people who follows Donald Trump on Twitter, you may every so often find yourself thinking, just put it down, man. A growing number of Democrats and Republicans alike are urging him to control his urge to tweet, especially when he strays from U.S. policy or gets combative. But neither Trump nor members of his administration seem particularly concerned. Paul Hunter has the latest.
Remember the old days when the big issue about U.S. presidents and communicating was whether Barack Obama would be allowed to keep his BlackBerry? With Donald Trump, it's not the device, it's the content. Under fire again today for more tweets causing more outrage, Trump countered, "The fake mainstream media is working so hard trying to get me not to use social media. They hate that I can get the honest and unfiltered message out." An apparent response to the fury over his tweets that took on the mayor of London after Saturday's terror attack. Widely accused of deliberately misrepresenting Sadiq Khan, Trump, via Twitter, called him pathetic, sparking outrage in Britain, not to mention lawmakers in the U.S. from both parties.
What Donald Trump did in response to the British tragedy was, again, I think inappropriate for a toddler, much less the President of the United States.
Probably it's best to refrain from communicating with 140 characters on topics that are so important.
I can only say what I've said before. I'm not a fan of the President's tweets, and that still remains my view.
And yet, when the mood strikes, Trump seems either unwilling or unable to stop, even in the face of those urging him to think before he thumbs. The latest, U.S. Attorney George Conway, husband of Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway, weighing in on Trump's other tweets this week, seemingly critical of the Justice Department's defense of that troubled travel ban. Trump's tweets, wrote Conway, seriously undermine the administration's agenda. That said, when pressed today on whether Trump's tweets do more harm than good, said spokesman Sean Spicer,
the same people who are critiquing his use of it now critiqued it during the election, and it turned out pretty well for him then.
For many, the larger question is how much weight should Trump's tweets be given anyway? Are they policy plans or just late-night rants? Said the White House today, they are official statements by the President of the United States. Full stop. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Seems Trump's not all about tweeting. He's also been blocking people from his feed, and some lawyers argue now that is a First Amendment violation. They sent a letter to the White House on behalf of blocked users. They argue that because Trump tweets about U.S. policy, he's made the account into a designated public forum. And they point out it's unconstitutional to block people from such a forum based on their views. Coming up, just days after a terror attack and days before the vote, the issue of security takes over the British election. Plus, a well-known Canadian family uses their personal tragedy as an opportunity to help others. People in Qatar are feeling the effects of being cut off from their Gulf neighbors. And tonight there are reports that U.S. investigators think Russian hackers planted a fake news story in Qatar's media to cause a rift between the United States and its allies. Yesterday, 4 Arab countries cut diplomatic ties with Doha over accusations it supports terrorist groups. Getting in or out of the country is now increasingly difficult. The land border with Saudi Arabia is closed, and store shelves are going bare as residents stock up. Nearly all the food is imported into the country. Intelligence leaks in the U.S. have made for stunning and revealing reports from media outlets lately. But a recent one alleging direct Russian interference in last year's election may have been plugged. For handing over classified information to journalists, the possible leaker was arrested and charged under the Espionage Act. Lindsay Duncombe has more on that.
A 25-year-old security contractor with the made-up-sounding name Reality Winner may be behind a leak which appears to reveal just how far the Russian government went to influence the 2016 election. And it's further than intelligence officials have previously admitted.
The latest revelations, you can see this is undermining our democracy, our electoral system.
Winner is a former linguist in the Air Force. She had top security clearance, working for a private company contracted by the National Security Agency in Georgia. She was charged Monday under the Espionage Act after the website The Intercept published an NSA report on Russian hacking. The report details a spear phishing campaign. The hackers sent fake emails to workers at a company that provides voter registration services for several states, tricking them into giving away their credentials. The report concludes it was likely that at least one account was compromised. Then, more than 100 election officials received fake emails, which could have allowed the hackers to infect computers with malware. It's unclear how far they got. And there's no evidence any votes were tampered with. But the conclusions are significant because they mark the first evidence the Russian government tried to tamper with actual voting systems, despite repeated denials by the Kremlin.
I haven't seen even once any direct proof of Russian interference in the presidential election in the United States.
The leaks are absolutely real.
It's also significant because after the president railed about leaks for months, this is the first arrest of an alleged leaker under the administration. And the latest revelations will no doubt provide fodder for questions to James Comey. The former FBI director will testify about his firing and Russia in front of a congressional committee Thursday.
There's likely more to come. The top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee says the extent of the hacking is broader than what's been reported. He urged targeted states to go public in order to prevent attacks in future elections. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
There's an interesting theory out there as to how the contractor was tracked down, suggesting a media outlet left a kind of paper trail. Now, these are the documents The Intercept posted with the article. They appear to be scans of pages printed in color, but certain printers leave behind a watermark, embedding small, barely visible tracking dots on the page. Security researchers suggest these dots gave away where, when, and eventually who printed out those pages. French authorities have opened a terrorism investigation after a man attacked a police officer with a hammer outside the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Hundreds of tourists were inside the cathedral at the time of the attack. The assailant allegedly yelled, "This is for Syria," and was carrying multiple knives as well. He was shot by police and is now in hospital. The officer he attacked suffered minor injuries. Scotland Yard has identified the third of the 3 men responsible for Saturday night's deadly attack on London Bridge and in a nearby area packed with bars and restaurants. 22-year-old Yusuf Zagba was not known to police or Britain's domestic security agency MI5. He was an Italian national of Moroccan descent and lived in East London. All 3 attackers were killed within minutes of the first calls to police. Security has become a key issue in the run-up to Thursday's general election in Britain. Theresa May has been sharply criticized for presiding over police cuts while she was a minister in David Cameron's government. Nala Ayed takes a closer look now at the issue in these closing days of the campaign.
Of the countless hours on the front lines of sorrow and concern, 1 minute of silence says more than any words. Especially difficult for all those neighbors of London Bridge.
Now this is our community, and you feel it so keenly. And to be perfectly honest, it's frightening. You know, I was scared on Saturday evening, and my only thought is I cannot be terrorised. It was like walking through a nightmare, to be perfectly honest.
The Southwark Cathedral and its dean were upfront witnesses to the violence of Saturday night. Now it is sequestered behind the police cordon. And it isn't their first time being so close to such loss.
Lay down one's life for one's friends.
The cathedral hosted the funeral for Keith Palmer, the unarmed police officer killed in the Westminster attack back in March. Dunn preached that day.
We do need community policing. We need people who are policing intelligently in terms of monitoring what's going on. I suspect that some people going to the polls this week will be sort of thinking around those issues.
The attacks in Manchester and London have put security, and specifically policing, front and centre. Campaigning back on, the Prime Minister's focus has shifted from Brexit to who is the best leader to keep the country safe. Under scrutiny are police numbers while Theresa May served as Home Secretary. Under her watch, they have steadily fallen in England and Wales every year, ultimately cut by 21,000 officers.
Was it a mistake to cut thousands of those?
Would it not be leadership to say that you would reverse those cuts?
Do you commit to restore those 20,000 police officers?
She would not.
We have protected counter-terrorism policing budgets, and I also support absolutely shoot to kill. And I think what we saw on our streets on Saturday was how important that was.
But the Labour Party's proposal to partly undo the cuts with 10,000 more bobbies on the beat is resonating. Back near London Bridge, the Labour MP says policing is coming up more now on the campaign trail. He wants more of the unarmed community kind.
They also build relationship with imams and others who are most likely to, if they trust someone and they know they can talk to someone freely, they're most likely to report if they fear that might be someone at risk of radicalisation.
With the vote looming, the Police Federation too has again called for more unarmed officers.
We are more or less firefighting policing at this moment in time. We're going from call to call to call to call. If you're under that pressure every day, something's got to give.
The pressure will be on the next Prime Minister to do something. And that likely also means looking hard beyond policing for answers. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
A grand jury in Oregon has indicted the man accused of killing 2 passengers on a Portland train last month. Jeremy Christian is now charged with aggravated murder, attempted murder, and assault. Prosecutors allege the 35-year-old made hateful comments towards 2 teenage girls before stabbing 3 men in the neck. Bill Cosby's Canadian accuser testified today at his sexual assault trial. Andrea Constant told the court about a 2004 encounter at Cosby's home. She said he gave her pills to relax, and she could not fight back as he violated her because she felt paralyzed. If convicted, Cosby could get 10 years in prison. Straight ahead, an Air Canada customer's ticket is canceled without her knowledge. Ottawa is moving ahead with new airline safety regulations to make sure pilots are fit for duty. At an aviation summit in Gatineau today, Transport Minister Marc Garneau said pilot flight duty periods will be reduced from the current maximum of 14 hours a shift to between 9 and 13 hours, depending on the time of day they start and how many times they take off and land. New regulations are also in the works for alcohol consumption. Pilots won't be allowed to fly within 12 hours of drinking, up from the current 8-hour rule. If you've got a flight booked with Air Canada, you may want to make sure you've got a valid ticket. A CBC News investigation has learned a number of Air Canada customers have had their tickets canceled without any notice or explanation from the airline. Eric Rankin has the story from Vancouver.
That one's too big. That one's not going to fit. Nina and Wilkins Chung wanted to take their 3-year-old son to see relatives in Hong Kong. So when they discovered a seat sale on Air Canada last month, they scrambled. Wilkins buying his ticket from home, Nina buying separately from work. But when Nina checked her credit card statement last week, she was baffled. Air Canada had refunded her ticket, she says, without warning.
So I called the credit card company just to make sure if was there a fraud or something, that why did it refund? But they said that it wasn't their fault. They said it was on Air Canada's fault.
Even more confusing, Wilkins checked the Air Canada website, which shows the ticket still confirmed.
There's absolutely no indications there's anything wrong.
But in an online chat, Air Canada reps gave them the bad news. It appears your transaction did not meet all the validity checks. We invite you to show up at the airport to get this sorted.
It was just a really frustrating experience because their customer support flow is just completely broken, in my opinion.
It turns out this isn't an isolated case. CBC News has learned of at least 8 other Air Canada customers who recently had their tickets canceled, some only finding out when they got to the gate.
We go to check in and we're told Air Canada has cancelled your ticket.
An air passenger rights activist says a new Air Canada fraud detection system appears to be faulty, flagging valid credit cards. He wants regulators to investigate and says the airline has no right to arbitrarily cancel tickets without providing compensation.
Air Canada's conduct is egregious and it reflects complete disregard to the rights of passengers. It is the typical corporate arrogance.
In an email to CBC News, Air Canada says it has been optimizing its anomaly detection and security systems. It promises to look into customer complaints of surprise ticket cancellations.
There could be so many people that are affected, and it's just hard to judge to know how many.
The Chung's advice, check to make sure your ticket payment has gone through. Eric Rankin, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Liberal government announced changes to sexual assault laws today around consent and what is protected by the Rape Shield law.
I'm hopeful that these proposed changes will go a long way towards ensuring that victims of sexual assault are treated with compassion and with the respect that they deserve.
The new law would make it clear that an unconscious person cannot consent to sexual activity. It would also prevent sexual texts, photos, or videos from being used to discredit a complainant. CBC News has learned this coveted piece of Ottawa real estate will become a space dedicated to Inuit, Métis, and First Nations communities. The old U.S. Embassy has sat empty for 2 decades. Public consultations returned a top suggestion that the site be used as a Canada House to showcase the best of the country. A gallery came second, an Indigenous cultural facility third. A family touched by tragedy wants to raise awareness across Canada.
We are, in a lot of ways right now, leaving a generation of addicts out there to die.
What Scott Oak's family is now doing to help others who are struggling. And up next, we go back to our top story tonight. Susan Ormiston talks to the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Many of the voters in last year's presidential election cast their ballots, animated in part by a desire to shrug off the burden of world leadership.
Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland earlier today delivering her government's vision for Canada's foreign policy, much of it shaped by what is increasingly being seen around the world as a void in leadership from the U.S. Freeland says Canada will step up, not turn inwards. Our Susan Ormiston sat down with the minister after she gave her speech to talk more about how she'll increase Canada's presence in the world and whether this country needs to play harder ball with Trump.
On a busy day, thank you very much for making the time.
A pleasure to be with you, Susan.
It's a difficult time. I think the UK recent attacks were deeply terrifying for Canadians, unsettling. Your speech was about tolerance, liberalism, diversity. You say Canadians are so great at this, but is this the right time, and how tough is it to make that message right now?
Let me just say one word about the London attacks, Susan. I want to reiterate how much Canada's heart goes out to London and also to the family of an amazing young Canadian woman who died. And I was particularly moved and really inspired by that family who said, we should all go follow Chrissy's example, they called her, and go work in our local homeless shelters and say Chrissy sent us. And maybe that is a partial answer to your question. We are a country that is strong, that is willing, as I discussed today, to use muscle, military power in defense of our values and our allies.
But you've got a quarter of Canadians in a recent poll who say maybe we should have a travel ban. You've got 40% saying the refugee targets for this year are too high. There are some Canadians who are feeling deeply uncertain and worried and vulnerable. So do you risk sounding tone deaf, talking about liberalism and diversity and tolerance, and perhaps not hearing them? The opposition is saying it's frothy liberalism.
I am absolutely convinced that there is not only no contradiction between keeping Canadians safe and standing up for our values, I think those things are mutually reinforcing. Canada is stronger. Our open society is stronger. Our liberal values are stronger in a world where those values are most broadly shared. And that is not frothy liberalism. We are at a time and a place when international institutions need to be reinvented and renewed. And I argued today, and I believe so strongly, we need to double down on that international rules-based order. And doing that is the best way. I believe it is the only way to ensure safety and security for Canadians. There are only 36 million Canadians. A Fortress Canada approach is not going to be an approach that will maintain our prosperity or our safety.
So you talked a lot about America today. Are you saying we need to go it alone and put some separation between our foreign policy and America's foreign policy? You referenced it a lot in your speech today. What exactly are you saying about Canada's role now?
My central conviction is about Canada committing to, recommitting to building our leadership in our multilateral alliances. Having said that, we also need to be honest with ourselves and with Canadians. And we need to be honest about the fact that the election in the United States last fall, for many Americans, was an expression of a weariness with the burdens of global leadership.
You said they're questioning global leadership.
Exactly.
So if they're questioning global leadership, you're saying we have to take a sovereign, almost a sovereign approach.
We have to appreciate that we as Canadians, our country, a middle power, is a huge beneficiary of this international rules-based order. And we have to step up.
It seems to many that your government's approach to the United States and to President Trump has been appeasement, mannerly, polite. You've talked about the humility as a great Canadian virtue. But given what's going on in the United States, with the unpredictability of his response to NAFTA alone, tearing it up, threatening it, saying we're taking advantage of America, is it time to have less manners and more muscle, a more aggressive approach?
I think the Canadian way, Susan, is to have both manners and muscle. And I don't think the two are contradictory. I think it's absolutely right for us to be polite, for us to be reasonable, for us to be fact-based. I also absolutely think we need to be absolutely firm and resolute in defense of the national economic interest.
So will there be resistance? Are you going to have a pattern of resistance against them pushing Canada to get more benefit out of the NAFTA deal?
Trade negotiations are always tough. Trade negotiations are always about every country working hard to get the best possible deal. And that's what we're going to do. I do want to say one thing, really to reassure Canadians. We have the best, the smartest, the toughest, and the most professional trade negotiators in the world. I know because other countries are constantly trying to hire them. So I feel these are going to be robust negotiations. I believe trade is win-win, and I think we're going to get there, and I think we're going to get a great deal for Canada.
But you're dealing with President Trump, who we haven't seen the likes of before. You must have to alter your strategy. You must sit at your desk some days and say, what? What's this now?
Good diplomats always think about their strategy and their approach in terms of what works with the person across the table. So, of course,
So what
that's
works
true.
with him?
Well, my direct counterpart is Secretary Tillerson, and his experience running ExxonMobil is a great advantage for Canada. I said to Secretary Tillerson the first time I met him that I thought he was probably the cabinet secretary with the deepest knowledge of Canada and the Canadian economy, and he did not disagree. So I think in him we have a strong voice at the U.S. cabinet table who really understands Canada.
So you say you deal with the person across from you. How does the Canadian government approach Donald Trump?
So I've been present with the Prime Minister at his 2 face-to-face meetings with President Trump, and I have to say they were really good meetings. The President really listened. He listened carefully to what we had to say and responded to it. It was a real conversation. There was a real warmth in the meetings, and in both of them, including most recently in Italy and Taormina, the President talked about Canada being the largest market for the United States. The President said that, a little bit incredulously. He was like, you guys are really important to us. And we said, yeah.
He's figured that out.
Absolutely.
But is a charm offensive going to work?
I think we have to have good manners and have strong muscles. And I think that's our approach to the United States. In some ways, that would be a good summary of the foreign policy speech I gave today. We have strong, positive, optimistic values, and at the end of the day, we need to back them up with strength. I think that's a good way of approaching the world and a very Canadian way of approaching the world.
That is a perfect place to end. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
When we come back, the death of their son has prompted a new purpose for their family. Let's check the day's business numbers now. The TSX rose 54 points, the Canadian dollar up 0.1 cent. In New York, the Dow fell 47 points. The price of oil was up 79 cents a barrel.
Our thought is if something good could come out of something so tragic, it would be a beautiful thing.
And what could be more tragic to a parent than losing a child? Longtime CBC Sports broadcaster Scott Oake knows that pain. He and his wife Anne describe it as a hole in their hearts that will never heal. But since their son Bruce overdosed on heroin 6 years ago, their family has pulled together for a purpose: to raise awareness about addiction and help people falling through the cracks. As Red Sharon tells us, they feel compelled to do it in Bruce's memory.
This is a box that I keep all my treasures of Bruce's in. Cards that he's given me.
A box full of memories. This is from when he was really teeny,
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day. From her eldest, Bruce.
Mother's Day cards and little notes he's written over the years.
Must be still tough going through this.
It is, it really is. Because he was very sentimental.
Yeah. You can see that. Happier times.
Every week I put fresh flowers here for him.
Before the tragedy that took his life.
He was very rambunctious. He had been diagnosed when he was little with ADHD and a mild form of Tourette's, so he liked to act out in school, but he was a very good-natured, but he was like his dad, pulled a lot of pranks, went to the office a lot, but he had a big heart.
One of my favorite stories about how he had this uncanny ability to nail things was he was 3.5 or 4. We were right up in front of the house playing street hockey. And like any father, I was telling him, this is how you hold the stick, this is how you stick handle, this is how you shoot, this is how you do whatever. And he pretty soon had it with me and looked at me and said, you know, Dad, if you know so much about it, you should be doing it, not just talking about it.
You may recognize Scott.
It's 2-1 after one, and with the goal scorer for the Kings.
For close to 3 decades, he's been one of the voices of CBC Sports. from Hockey Night in Canada to the Olympics.
For Canada and the Olympic Regatta because...
But he was always based in Winnipeg, where his boys Darcy and Bruce, the oldest,
Maybe I could have that one and he could have this one.
were growing up. From a young age, Darcy dreamed of being a magician.
Ready? Okay.
Bruce was a natural athlete, a member of the boxing team for the Canada Games. But in Bruce's late teens, something started to change.
We were naive parents. I did know that he had been, smoking marijuana, but we didn't think it had really progressed any further. He graduated from high school. He was on the varsity basketball team.
We didn't know it at the time, but I guess it over time evolved into crystal meth and ecstasy at weekend parties or whatever. And given his ADHD diagnosis, which made him, as Anne says, adventurous and up for anything, it wasn't a giant leap from that into opiates.
By the time he was 22, unknown to Bruce's parents, things were spiraling out of control. They were on vacation in Nova Scotia when he called.
He said, I'm in trouble, and he said, I'm not a junkie, but I have a problem.
He'd been assaulted over a drug debt, so he turned to his parents.
His hand was broken, yeah.
We got home, and we hadn't seen him for a couple of weeks at that point, and when we got home and got a look at him, we knew right away that he was in
very bad shape.
In bad shape, and that there was a problem bigger than
what he was letting
imagined.
on even.
His addiction had progressed to heroin. What followed was 3.5 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars of trying to get him treatment, a cycle of limited success and relapse.
He went to rehab 4 times, and he was in and out of detox about 8 times. So you have to go to detox before you can get into rehab. But he'd think, I go to detox and I'll clean myself up and then I can do it myself, but he never could.
But whenever we forced the issue with him, we'd say, you need to go to rehab.
He went.
He would go.
Every time.
And what did that tell you?
It told us that, well, we thought he wanted a better life, and we still believe that, but more than anything.
He wanted to please us.
Yeah. Wanted to he wanted to make his parents happy.
Yeah.
By 2011, he was living in Calgary, had a good job, an apartment, and a girlfriend, and seemed to be having success with treatment at a local facility.
This was his 4th attempt at rehab. And when he went the 2nd time, we thought this is when he gets it right because he had some success there previously. So we had great hope. We always had hope when he was in rehab. We were like a lot of parents, when you always want to know that your kids are safe. Stan always says you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. So, we had the most comforting nights of our lives were when we knew he was safe and when he was in rehab.
But once again, tragically, he slipped.
He was shooting up heroin in his girlfriend's apartment, and she called 911 because he was kind of, I guess, not very lucid. They tried to convince him to go to the hospital with them. He wouldn't go, and so they left, and he wanted to shoot up one more time. She said, you can't do it here, you have to get out. He left her apartment and walked up to a bar at the end of the street, walked right into the bathroom, shot up the rest of the heroin, and just hit the floor and died.
6 years later, it's still as raw as it ever was.
Never goes away. Even bringing out all the stuff to show you, I found some report cards and his boxing medals and...
Yeah. Well, you have holes in your hearts that will never heal. That describes Ann and I and Darcy perfectly. But we miss him every day. But you go on.
They decided right from the moment they wrote his obituary to start a conversation.
We decided that we would put in the obit exactly what claimed his life.
Right at the beginning, not at the end.
Yeah. Because we weren't going to hide behind it.
Big breath, good.
They know they are not alone. Every day in a paper or online somewhere in Canada, there's another picture of a young person who has died from an overdose. Tens of thousands a year.
There's a crying need for a long-term treatment center where we live in Winnipeg and around Winnipeg that addicts have access to, and no one is turned away because they can't afford to pay. I mean, that's the key. We are, in a lot of ways right now, leaving a generation of addicts out there to die.
Instead of becoming lost in their grief, they started a foundation in Bruce's name, started raising money for a treatment facility. And this truly is a family affair.
It comes in waves, I guess. There's different emotions sort of hit you at different times. And different.
Younger brother Darcy has been hurting for 6 years too. He and his older brother were tight, very tight.
We were 2 years apart, super close, exact same sense of humor. It's like living with a brick in your pocket, but the weight never goes away. You just get used to it being there.
Yeah.
And every so often you put your hand in your pocket and you're like, oh yeah, there's the brick. Yeah.
Darcy got lost in his work, and now, thanks to appearances on programs like Britain's Got Talent, has become world famous as an illusionist.
Just show the camera there.
He's very good at what he does.
Some of them were face down, some of them were face up, some of them were face down. We had backs to fronts, fronts to backs, faces to faces. But watch, didn't matter. All I had to do was give the deck a little shake like that. His card, your card rather, jumps to the bottom. 2 of spades.
No. And he's using it to help raise money for his brother's foundation.
What was your card?
It was the Queen of Clubs.
Queen of Clubs, watch. All we have to do is go back in time to the beginning of the trick where all the cards are back to normal. And you pulled out, take a look.
How did you do that?
There you go.
Wow. Initially, 2 nights were booked for this theater. Now it's 4.
Just think, you're filling this place 4 times over in your brother's memory. How's that feel?
That feels really good, actually, yeah. When you put it that way, that's makes it more meaningful than just doing a regular show, right?
You'd be pretty proud of you, I'd say.
Yeah. It's,
all the proceeds, which could be as much as $500,000, will go to the project.
We just got this and we're very excited about it.
And the dream is getting closer. A 50-bed facility available to any addict free of charge. They hope the final fundraising push will make it a reality in Bruce's memory.
He was about more than his addiction. When we tell Bruce's story in public, we tell people what he was like as a kid, just as we did here earlier. But addiction claimed his life, and our thought is if something good could come out of something so tragic, it would be a beautiful thing.
This is the last picture they have of him, the way they want to remember him, at the family cottage, with a big grin on his face. Red Sharon, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Tonight was the first of Darcy Oak's fundraiser shows for his brother Bruce's foundation. If you're in the Winnipeg area, he's performing until Friday night. As for this show, up next, ever wonder what it would feel like to pet a dinosaur?
I'm Anna Maria Tremonti. Tomorrow on The Current, the majority of migraine sufferers are women, and they often don't get proper treatment because of a lack of research and because doctors are ill-prepared. That's on The Current, weekdays at 8:30 on CBC Radio 1.
When Calls the Heart. New season begins Sunday, June 18th on CBC.
I challenge in the history of nation states to find any other country that's tried to get it right as much as Canada has.
You know, isn't that a cool thing to put on display in a museum somewhere, to have a dinosaur petting zoo?
Paleontologists in Alberta are giddy with excitement. They're the first in the world to know what a T-Rex feels like after finding fossilized skin from several tyrannosaurids. And it turns out they were covered not in feathers, but in small, bumpy scales, much like an alligator or a crocodile. Some of the world's greatest female soccer stars are rallying behind a little girl in Nebraska.
Just because I look like a boy doesn't mean I am a boy.
8-year-old Millie Hernandez and her entire team were disqualified from the finals of a tournament on Sunday because officials thought she was a boy. Her parents showed them Millie's medical insurance card listing her as female, but to no avail. Millie's teammates say they're going to cut their hair in support. And U.S. gold medalists Abby Wambach and Mia Hamm both took to social media offering support, even inviting her to one of their soccer camps. And that's The National for this Tuesday night. For news at any hour, you can always go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm Diana Swain. Thanks for watching.